Hello and welcome to the Team VVV podcast for all your weekly racing game rambles. I'm Martin, and joining me as ever is Kevin.
Hi guys.
And Alan.
Hello viewers.
Hello. So if you enjoy the podcast, please do like and subscribe. It helps support what we do. This week we're also giving away a copy of Project Cars on PS4 if you're interested. Details on how to enter that can be found on the website. So, obviously, the main talking point at the moment is Forza Horizon 3. The demo came out just this week on Xbox One. It is also coming out for PC, apparently, after release. Don't know what they were thinking there, but there we are. So we've been playing it quite a bit, I think it's fair to say. Kevin, what are your main impressions from the demo so far?
Well, I suppose the main wow factor is the visuals.
Yeah,
and, we keep banging on about them, but, it really has to be sort of seen to be believed. Runs fantastically smoothly. The controls, just as you would expect from Horizon title, incredibly good controls using the controller. You've got a very sort of smooth inputs with your steering. You get at a great level of control. Plenty of variety in terms of vehicles, environments, different surfaces. You get different levels of vibration through the controller. And I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on the full game. It's looks pretty awesome. It could well be the game of the year, I think.
Yeah, it's shaping up incredibly well so far. It's worth mentioning too. I mean, playable demos are pretty rare, but this is a pretty substantial demo. It was well over an hour long, I think.
Not substantial enough though. I wanted it to carry on, but admittedly, I've not had any sort of free roaming yet. I've just been doing the missions, so I'll jump back on that and do a bit of free roaming and just see.
I'm surprised you could free roam in it, really. Because most demos, you play a few events and it's like, oh, it's ended, buy the game, here's the link. But on Forza, it does give you the...
Yeah, there is a few screens where it says buy the game, though. You press X, I think it is, to continue playing. So that was a little bit intrusive, I thought. But I'm not sure how big of a map they're actually giving you to play with on a demo. But
it's a small segment, I think, because it kind of teases about the Outback, doesn't it, when you get to select which part of the map you want to run the festival in next. But obviously, you can't access it. So I think it's a very small section from what I can tell.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
It must be an issue when I looked at the map, but there's lots of areas that aren't accessible.
I'm assuming the full game won't be set up like that, and will allow you to explore where you want from the outset.
I expect so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be, was it twice as big as Forza Horizon 2?
Yeah, they seem to be doubling the map size of every iteration now. So. I mean, where do they go from here? It's so impressive that they've made a real rod for their back with Forza Horizon 4 in 2 years' time. I mean, can you imagine a game
if they're
developed in 2 years?
Keep this up,
yeah,
if they're going to keep up this cycle in 2 years, yeah, they are. Like you said, they're making a lot of work for themselves by making the games this good
and this big as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go in for 4. But I want to see the sort of city areas as well in Horizon 3, which I haven't really
seen. You didn't see that, did you, in the demo so much?
No, so I just want to see how dense the cities actually are compared to games like The Crew, things like that, just to see if it's as impressive as the sort of urban areas are and beach area and things like that. That'd be interesting to see.
I think it's interesting too. Sorry, go on.
I haven't played the demo myself, but obviously played the full game recently. And I think you probably played a chunk of the full game. Did you have the full intro on there? Did it have the intro to the game?
It's pretty much the same as what you played.
Oh, really?
Free.
Oh, so the final game, obviously, you get a really glossy intro, which we'll probably show, at some point on the channel. And it does show some of the city areas, and the architecture and the detail is absolutely amazing. And to think it's all rendered, I mean, it's probably been done on the PC version in 4K and then made into this intro video. But either way, it's all in-game assets, and it's remarkable to look at. And I think, I thought, wow, the demo is impressive. But when you drive over different parts of the map and you see the skyline change and the views change, it's stunning views, in different weather conditions and stuff like that. It's like you were saying, Kevin, it's where can it go? But the first hour of the game is very much like the demo. You follow the races, you get led around, all that sort of stuff, and then it really opens up after the first hour. Then you get your drone cam and this other stuff. I'll talk about that in a moment, and then you can do co-op as well. You can go through the game with online co-op, 4 of you. How brilliant is that? Being in one place, doing a race, and then driving together to the next location, and getting on with it there. And you'll end up with these crews sort of going around the map together. Great with the teams and everything else in there. I think multiplayer-wise, it's got huge potential. The environments feel so rich and so enjoyable to drive in. The sound, the feeling, there's something so fun about it, and I just like the idea that you were just released into this happy world. I mean, at one stage we were seeing he was racing towards a city, and there was a double rainbow that he says was generated, and it just looked amazing, and you could drive and see it from different places on the map, and it just looked incredible. I mean, it was so detailed what we were seeing. And also, I think one other thing that I wasn't aware of before the preview was drone cam. And drone cam is when you get to unlock a drone as you go into the game. When it comes to a replay, rather than just seeing the replay from the gamer's point of view, you can use a drone and fly along with the action and film any angle you want. So you can make your own replays. And I think as Martin's dog gets involved, exactly, he's very happy. And I think when people see what YouTubers are going to be capable of, it will make so much more for the action. So, yeah, I mean, the later this week we'll have an interview with Ralph Fulton, game director, and he'll go through some of the different aspects of the game. The game is so huge; there's just too much to talk about, really. But I think ultimately we just keep repeating ourselves. A remarkable achievement for 2 years' work. I mean, when you're looking at Gran Turismo and its 5-year development plan, and you look at what Playground have developed in 2 years, it's absolutely amazing. And they've released 3 games in the same space since we've had the last Gran Turismo, just as a comparison. They'll have released, and that's amazing. And I think when we see new hardware with the Scorpio next year, will that mean a 4K version running on the Scorpio? I reckon almost certainly you'll see a 1080. I think you'll see a 4K 30 frames per second option running for the Scorpio on this game next year, because if they're already showing it 4K 30 frames on the PC, it means they've already got the tech in place. And in 4K it does look even better. It's like super sharp, super duper touch.
I cannot imagine that, because I don't have a 4K TV, I don't have an HDR TV, but it still looks absolutely stunning to me. So I can't imagine what it must look like at the next level.
Just so much clarity there. I mean, it really was nice to see. But if you said to me, would I prefer, the clarity or frame rate? I think frame rate adds so much to the whole experience, and I think seeing that running at 60 frames will look stunning. So, no, altogether, just really impressive in the way it's turned out, and I think the final game looks even better than what you've seen some of it on the demo. So, it's definitely one to look forward to, and I think this year it's been one of the big surprises of the year. It really, in terms of the step forward, and on that hardware, which is, let's face it, limited.
Yeah.
It's incredible what they managed to get out of the hardware, really. Obviously, you've played a fair chunk of the main game. Would you say the structure is that different? Because they made a big thing this week about the fact that you're not sort of working your way up as a new festival girl. You actually run the festival yourself. You're like the manager. Well,
I think that's a difficult question to answer, because we just didn't have enough time to play it. What happened was, when I was playing the game, was I went off on the wrong path, basically. I followed these other little events here, there, and everywhere, and there were some main events I hadn't completed and didn't know about, so I didn't get to see certain things. But the problem is, you need to play the game for an hour or two before you sort of unlock the map, and then you can do much more of it. But it will be similar, quite open-ended, but I'm sure there'll be the core, because before you had sort of the one Horizon event, didn't you?
Yeah.
Whereas now you're going to have several of those Horizon events to go to. There's several places now and stuff like that. So, it's just all round double the content. But you'll see videos. I mean, I played lots of different races, different cars, off-road vehicles, everything. Driving off-road is so much more fun now. The way the cars behave, you'll see with water splashes and everything is different now for different environments. So, yes, your Lamborghini can drive off-road. No, it's not going to be quick off-road. So there's going to be a little bit more tactically in terms of what vehicle you use for what given event. But generally speaking, not enough time to, it literally was just a preview. Sit in a room, play it for an hour, and then go from there. And I'm sure there's going to be hundreds of YouTubers sort of raving about it. But you know, I haven't played it with a wheel, so I can't say what the wheel handling is going to be like yet. But that's something that, you know, hopefully we could check out later. But either way, you know, I think great achievement. But apart from playing the races and just doing the standard map stuff, that's pretty much what we were doing at the preview event. And in fact, I'm actually surprised how big the demo is, because the demo.
I'm really surprised, actually. Yeah.
The demo sort of spoils the preview, because they've actually shown most in the demo, from what I can see there, having not played it. Much of the previews, you know, have been seen in the demo, because we didn't get much further than you guys do in the demo. I mean, in the demo, you start off with your 3 races, you know, Lamborghini, race a helicopter, all that jazz, and then after that, you'll drive to do a couple of different drives to an event, and then you'll start progressing from there. I assume it's quite similar in the demo. So we haven't actually done much more than you guys have in the demo, because that's the beginning of the game and it takes time to actually get into the game. So we might have gone a bit further because it wasn't locked, obviously, and there'll be no dead ends that you guys would have been coming up against. But yeah, it's just a bit frustrating that the previews that we're going to show are going to probably be about outdated by the time they're up. So, but there will be bound to be races and video content that we have that perhaps other people don't have so much. But the thing I really wanted was the drone cam footage, and unfortunately we couldn't get that, which is a bit of a shame. But
the drone camera is actually accessible in the demo as well.
oh, it is accessible in the demo. Oh, well, there you go then. Yeah, it wasn't accessible to us at the time.
Surprised.
Yeah.
I went to the portal and I thought everything was going to be blanked out, you know, but no, I haven't really fully explored it, but it's there. It's all there.
Yeah, it wasn't for us because we were restricted in, like, you could sit there and record, and then the person would come up to me and say, right, stop recording now. That's it. And so then if you unlock the drone cam 10 minutes after that, well, it's too bad. You're not allowed to record any more footage. It's very strict in terms of what we could show. So in actual fact, yes, you probably get more from the demo than we will from the previews, which is a bit of a strange one, isn't it? But there you go. So, but either way, it'll be up this week. I think for us, really, I mean, I've been aware of the demo and the fact that it was an hour long. I'm focusing really very much on the interview with Ralph. So we'll have a sort of detailed interview, but preview-wise, there's not really much to say, really, other than, I think, as you guys will say, what was Forza Horizon 3 like? Well, visually stunning, amazing audio, wonderful areas you want to drive around, and great racing. And, you know, I think it retains some of the different style of physics that are in Forza, but for some reason they seem better applied to this game than they do to Forza Motorsport. And I think it's interesting, but they just suit this game better than they suit Forza.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the case because Forza Horizon knows what it wants to be, whereas Forza Motorsport, I'm not quite sure if it knows what it wants to be. It seems to be evolving the handling model constantly.
Yeah, it has evolved a lot. I mean, it had a major evolution from Forza 4 to Forza 5. That for me is taking it down the wrong road, as I've said many times. And I think Forza, doesn't quite know what it does. It want to be Assetto Corsa? Does it want to be Forza Horizon? Sort of stuck in the middle. So, but I think now Assetto Corsa's out there. I mean, if they can transform that game, it needs a lot of work. We're waiting for that super patch that's going to fix everything. Then perhaps we'll see some radical changes to that as well.
Ciao.
I think Playground always say that their main focus more than anything is just pure fun in Forza Horizon. That's what really sets it apart. It's not trying to be It's not trying to be as realistic.
No, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's logical.
It completely suits that type of game. But if it was too realistic, it just wouldn't be quite as fun.
You know, I played some off-road races, and when I saw Ralph, I said, "Do you know what it reminds me of?" I said, "It reminds me of Dirt 2. I love Dirt 2. That's a good thing." And of course, he made Dirt 2. So you know, that's it. I kind of felt.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because I noticed a lot of that myself when I was playing the demo. Like the way you get to select your avatar now, and you get to select your name. Do you remember when it did that in Dirt 2? You're like, oh, hey, Mar, we got some exciting events for you now. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you can actually pick a female avatar and have the name as a male name as well. So that's a bit odd.
Yeah, it is funny actually. Some of the name combinations there. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, definitely a Dirt 2 vibe going on there, especially with the off-roading, like you said. But I'm sort of going through all the tunnels and all that kind of thing. I've got a lot of flashbacks in Dirt 2.
Bit of a Motorstorm vibe as well.
Yep.
There's a bit of that in there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there is a bit of that in there. I mean, I mean, and why not? Because no Motorstorm's coming back anytime soon. So,
damn it.
Yeah, well, it's Sony, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what Sony are doing really with the driving genre at the moment. I mean, being their only driving studio, and with no Gran Turismo, I just don't think it's helping them at the moment. But and look at the swing in sales. I mean, Microsoft have had a significant boost in sales since the new Xbox One S has been revealed, and of course, then last week with the no 4K Blu-ray in the PlayStation Pro. Which of course this is our first chat since that debacle. This is sort of helping them as well. I have to move on to that video last week. Enjoyed making that little horror film there of 2016, a PS4 Pro Odyssey. I have to say I've spoken to quite a few people who are interested in buying PS4 Pros, and they were all, I'm not going to buy one now. And I said, why not? They said, well, the technology wasn't a big enough leap for me, so it didn't impress me enough. The demonstrations of HDR out of context doesn't mean anything. I want to see the actual improvements to PS4 games before I decide to buy. And having just gone out and bought, say a £2,000 4K TV or whatever they cost, they want to actually watch 4K movies on it. And so now they're going to need a PlayStation Pro and a player, and they're saying, well, just no point. I might as well just save my money and get a player or an Xbox One S instead. So that's why it is such a big deal. And as we've said before, the PS2's success was in large part down to the fact that it played DVDs. So
as was the PS3 with Blu-ray. It was a massive.
Huge, I think the video for me was all about the evolution of. Was all about looking forward to this evolution of video games, and then right when we were getting there, it stumbled and fell abysmally, and like you say, uninspiring last week, and there was.
A lot of people keep moaning there that it's a games console, therefore the gaming should be a priority, but I think consoles have kind of evolved a lot since then. People expect it to be this all-in-one entertainment box now. Well,
that's it. I mean, you don't. I mean, what they're saying is go out and spend £350 on a console, then go out and spend £350 on a Blu-ray player. No, if you're going to spend that kind of money on a new console, you want it to be able to do the TV experience. That's what's expected. Has been for a long time. So it would be a backward step to suddenly say, oh, game consoles are only for games. No, they're not. They're media players. If it's only for games, they may as well take out Netflix and all the rest of it and just have it purely for games. What is it trying to be?
Also on the subject of PlayStation Pro, it's been confirmed that Drive Club's not going to be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, well, it's confirmed. Obviously, Rushy mentioned. Obviously, there's no plans to do anything. Again, seeing Drive Club running at 60 frames per second on the Pro would have been amazing. But again, another reason not to buy a PlayStation Pro.
That could potentially be an assistant seller, really, if it's a massive jump from the original. But another wasted opportunity.
Yeah, another wasted opportunity. Absolutely.
Drive Club VR as well. Imagine the benefits that would have had as well.
Yeah, it would have been Drive Club running in VR, basically, looking perfect. Again, just terrible decisions by Sony at a corporate level. They've lost the racing studio, and as I say, the whole PS4 Pro plan is in tatters right now, and Microsoft are just absolutely laughing. They've got the Xbox One S that plays UHD Blu-rays. They'll release the Scorpio next year that will blow the PlayStation Pro out of the water in terms of performance. It was worked out earlier this week. It's 43% more powerful than the PlayStation Pro. I mean, that's huge. Almost double the power. And you're going to see games like, Forza Horizon 3 running at 4K.
Exactly.
It's and running at
GT 4 won't be out until next year on the standard PlayStation 4.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, this time next year we might be seeing Forza Horizon 3 on the Project Scorpio, by which time GT Sport might have caught up.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's going to catch up because it's next year they'll be up against Forza Motorsport 7. So I think the comparison will be between the two next year. I think Forza Motorsport 7 will be a staggering technical achievement. I think visually it's going to completely blow us away, but again, for me, it all depends on the handling, really. If they're using the same handling model that they're using currently, I'm just not going to be interested in that. Visuals are lovely, but you've got to have good physics basis underneath and a good working physics model that applies to everything. So we'll wait and see.
You'd imagine hopefully Gran Turismo will take advantage of the PlayStation Pro instead.
It will, but 43% less powerful. I think that whatever they do, it's just not going to. Honestly, Forza. I think Forza 6 is visually stunning. What they've managed to get out of that hardware.
I find it out the other day, and I was still very impressed.
Yeah.
What they've achieved.
Oh, it's amazing, and I think when you imagine what they're going to do with 4 or 5 times the power, they're going to have so much more detail. The weather system will be so detailed. I can't imagine what they're going to make in Forza. And I think we should be ready for an Xbox VR announcement. I think there's going to be Xbox Scorpio VR, which is going to be 2K, double the resolution of PlayStation. It wouldn't surprise me because it could do 4K in terms of 2K per eye with reprojection and stuff like that. So it'll be able to do that 2K headset, and it will look amazing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Forza 7 come out that visually blows Gran Turismo Sport away, and with a VR option again that takes it to another level. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. But also a new, I'd say Forza 7 could launch with a new physics model. In theory, it could because they have more memory and performance to be able to dedicate towards that. So that could mean more open wheel cars, maybe. So leaves the door open.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. I mean, and then who knows after that? We might then see Forza Horizon 4 running on the brand new hardware, and God knows what that will look like.
Well, exactly. I mean, it makes you wonder. I mean, I've made no secret of the fact that I would love to see Japan rendered on the hardware, because with Japan you've got the mountains, so you can have the mountain racers drifting down the mountains, but then you can also have the highway racers racing down all the motorways through the cities and everything, a bit like Project Gotham Racing 3. So there is so much you can do with Japan that I think
just
that
Japan...
Japan...
Call it Tokyo Drift.
No, call it Tokyo Drift. Call it anything. I mean, whatever. Forza Horizon Japan, I think, would be amazing, and they could do drifters down the mountains. I mean, I think the highway racers, the street racers, there's so much they could do with that, and with that extra power and performance, with lighting and reflective surfaces. The mind boggles, really, when you look at the quality of Forza Horizon. I mean, I can see where some of it can go. For example, a lot of the in-car perspectives on games I find quite stiff. I don't think they work that well. I think if any game does in-car well, for me it's Project Cars. I think Project Cars has the best in-car feeling of any game. You just feel like you're there, you're in that car. A lot of them don't move around enough. The hands are a bit stiff on the wheel. They're not moving around. They're not hitting bumps as the way they should be. So there's still a lot of work to do. No. But I think that in terms of realism, this next chapter in consoles is, I think, much more exciting. Yeah. Will we see the monolith reappear? Maybe we will. It's possible. Monolith haunts my dreams now. So. You never know.
So you touched a bit on like possible locations maybe for Forza Horizon in the future. I must admit I wasn't completely sold on Australia when I first heard of it. Really, Australia? That's different. I'll go with that. But I have to say that the diversity of the environment does seem to be working for me now. When you compare it to Forza Horizon 2, the environments did get a bit repetitive sometimes. It was just constant coastal roads and that kind of thing.
I think Forza Horizon 2 was limited visually compared to Forza Horizon 3 massively. I think they have taken a massive visual step forward. I think also one of the problems for me with Forza Horizon 2 was the roads along the seafronts were 3 or 4 times the width of the real roads. They didn't look as good. They didn't look as authentic. I think these new maps on this Australia look way more authentic. And closer to the real thing than the south of France we were looking at before. So, I think that the location was good last time, but I don't think it replicated the environments. The streets were way too wide, and they altered it all for gamers, and it just lost its authentic appeal. Whereas so far, Australia's built in a way that it's got massive open areas, and it manages to retain its authenticity.
It's just interesting because the first two games kind of played on each location's kind of motoring heritage. Obviously, Colorado got the kind of American dream, the open road, that kind of stuff. Horizon 2 got the glamour of France, exotic cars and that kind of thing. Australia's quite a different choice. Obviously, they're known for their V8s, let's face it. But as a location, I wasn't quite sold on it at first. But having now played it,
I guess
just the sheer diversity.
The new focus on the off-road vehicles makes Australia
that really adds to it.
It adds to it a lot. I mean, it also opens up places like India. If they wanted to do something in India and everything, you've got different types of lighting and environments and stuff like that. And if they want to go more into the off-road in the next version, you can have really muddy sections with deformable ground. And there's a lot they'll be able to do there. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers, but before MotorStorm 1 was released, Sony released a video which turned out to be nonsense, showing a MotorStorm video that sort of blew your mind.
I was so blown away by that at the time as well.
Yeah, so blown away. It's like, oh my god, this is the future. And the game looked nothing like it, I will add. It was impressive.
It's something good, I must admit.
It was good, but it wasn't quite... No way. It was like, that was better than what we have today. And... I kind of feel that the next Forza Horizon could actually look like that. I think that's possibly what we're looking at.
Potentially.
I tell
you what I struggled with the most actually with the location. I tell you what I struggled with most actually in the location was driving on the left. I'm so used to driving on the right in games.
Yeah, same. I mean, your brain just tells you to stay on the right hand side, and you got this traffic on the picture, and you think, well.
It's funny because we're all from the UK. We're used to driving on the left in real life, but in video games, it's always on the right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it did take a little while to get my head around that.
I think the last time I drove on the left in a game would have to be The Getaway, which is set in London.
Yes, I remember that very well. Yes.
That's a long time ago now.
You're in London as well.
Yeah, I was at the launch for that event, as it happened, to Getaway, and they held a red carpet at the VUE cinema in the West End, and everybody got dressed up, went along the red carpet, and then we went in. They turned it into a movie, and we watched sort of this Getaway movie, a Guy Ritchie thing in the cinema, and then after that they actually did this event in the Fabric nightclub, which closed down this week in London. And when you got there, they had this suitcase of Getaway money. So they'd give you a handful of Getaway cash when you walked in, which would buy you your drinks for the evening. It was just quite a bizarre evening. It was like gangster evening. It was very unusual. God, when was that? It was like 2002 or something like that now.
Yeah, the PlayStation 2 was new at that point.
Yeah, a long time ago. That was it was a shame, because the vision of that game was way more than the performance of the console could manage,
Well, I mean, visually it looked fantastic, but the game just got very stale, didn't it, very quickly?
Yeah.
I still think that it was a game a bit ahead of its time in some ways, because it was very cinematic. Obviously, games like Uncharted at the moment really on how cinematic they are, but the Getaway for its time was pretty damn good. Cinematic gaming experience.
It was interesting because to unlock the free roam mode, you had to complete the game first.
Yes, that's true. I remember that. Yeah,
it's quite different, isn't it?
That's a good idea. Imagine that game running. It makes you do it, doesn't it? Makes you do it rather than just mucking around all the time. At least you actually have to play it.
Again, we're saying it again, Sony, what are you doing? That's a great series. Imagine that running on current tech. It nearly did. It nearly happened as well with the Getaway 3, but it got cancelled.
Yeah, it was a shame.
Yeah, Sony do this a lot, don't they? With their studio. I mean, I was saying the other day, Wipeout and G Police and Colony Wars, all great games that were on the PS1, and Sony had all those IPs, and they just pack them away and they just drop them. And I think
demand for them.
You have a huge market of older gamers in particular that would be dedicated to that brand. I mean, Wipeout had a dedicated following. and it wasn't sold properly on the PS3. You know, they delayed it and they delayed it and they delayed it, and it never really got any exposure. And then they said, oh, it didn't do very well. Well, you didn't market it properly. A bit like Driver San Francisco. You know, it's an example of a great game that didn't get marketed. And so that's what Sony have done. And then they drop, you know, things like Cooler World, Karushi. You know, these are puzzle games from the PS1 era that sold really well.
Wasn't that the beach ball puzzle thing?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cooler World was, and it was very successful in terms of the feedback was fantastic. But they said it didn't sell well initially because it never got marketed right, and it only became a cult thing because of word of mouth. So if they'd made Cooler World 2, it would have done really well. If they'd made another Karushi, I mean, they made Karushi and Karushi Final, which was again back cubes. But again, it's an indie level game in terms of its development. You know, keep these games and these brands rolling. It doesn't all have to be major games. I mean, when you look at PSN and you look at some of the little games, arcade games that are on there, digital games, they're all trash. And you think a lot of them are real crap. You know, I don't even download the free PlayStation Plus games half the time. I'm just not interested.
I rarely do that, actually.
But yeah, they have classic games on the PS1 that they could easily remake, that one person could remake very quickly and get them improved and put out there, and a lot of us would buy them again. You know, so these aren't huge developments, but you know, what can you say? I mean, they've got a vision, clearly where they're going. I'm just not entirely. I've come off the tracks where they are at the moment, and I think we need to see a bit more clarity in terms of that vision playing out. And who knows, they might release some software that's going to blow us away. We've got the VR headset coming. Let's see what they do with VR. You know, we've got a bad feeling that they could just drop it at any time, though. I get that feeling.
They do that a lot with their hardware. I mean, PlayStation Eye, PlayStation Move, all new sort of peripherals released for the consoles.
Yeah.
And they just, you know, after about 6 months, nothing new came out for them, and they just died basically. It's a shame. I am slightly worried the same might happen to VR, but I don't know.
Slightly worried. I think that if Microsoft bring out an amazing VR system next year, I think Microsoft could actually take it to its potential. More so.
That's my main worry. Are they releasing it a year too early?
I think releasing VR for the PS4 in its current guise is a mistake in some respects. But you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, it will get people into VR. And I think that from that you'll get an avid audience of followers. And I think it's a good place, because they need a reasonable mass market to develop ideas of what works in VR. It's going to take some time. I think it's important just to get VR off the ground, like you said. So it's affordable. It's, you know,
it is.
Compared to the competition anyway.
Yeah, and then I think when they release a VR headset that's double the resolution and it's got a wider field of view, I think suddenly the world will be ready for it. You know, I mean, when you put a VR headset on and you have like options where you can use your desktop, for example, on the PC, it's so pixelated, or you're trying to watch a YouTube video. I mean, it's awesome because you can have a 300-inch screen in front of you. You can feel like you're sitting in a cinema, but it's so pixelated that you can't enjoy it enough. And so you can still see that you need, you know, at least double the resolution, but ideally you'd need about 4 times the resolution so when you get 4K per eye, you know, that's when you'll have VR that's really going to become a thing. But we're still such a long way away from that we need to develop it over the next sort of 5 or 6 years. I mean, let's face it, you know, we've been using VR headsets, well, I have now for the last 4 years already. So 3 years, 4 years, something like that. So from the Oculus Rift version 1. So it's, you know, it's got a long way to go, but it's coming along. So it's just I'm just a bit concerned the PS4 is not that powerful, and you know, I think the PS Pro really is the system that powers VR much better from what we could see at that conference.
No, exactly. It didn't really. I think we mentioned before when I saw that presentation, it didn't put me off, but it did make me a bit more skeptical about how capable the current PS4 is of running VR.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it does seem to me like they want to focus in the future on PlayStation Pro VR compatibility more so than the current console, which would be a shame. But they've got such a big audience on PS4; it'd be ridiculous to do that. So yeah, I'm hoping that won't be the case. Yeah,
we'll wait and see. I mean, you know, I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I mean, like I say, we'll play it and enjoy it. The Star Wars demo, I think, for me, was so amazing at the Gamescom that it was the one thing that I've seen on the PlayStation VR that said to me, wow, anyone who uses this is going to just completely blow their socks off. It's the one thing I've played on PlayStation VR so far that really blew me away.
Were the pixels not quite as noticeable then? Or?
They weren't quite as noticeable, no, they weren't. But don't forget, you're in the blackness of space.
That makes space theme help with that, yeah.
Yeah, and you're surrounded by massively detailed visuals. I mean, the detail was quite surprising. I mean, who knows? Maybe that was a pro powering it, and I didn't know. That wouldn't surprise me now. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if it was.
That's true, actually, yeah.
You don't see the hardware, you know. But it was very impressive. And you know, if Drive Club is half as impressive, you know, then it will build a massive market. But I've not tried much yet. I'm trying. So at the Eurogamer Expo, I'm going to try and get on Battlezone. That's my next target to try out. And if I can get on Drive Club, I'll ask Sony and see if they let me on Drive Club or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's we'll wait and see on that one.
I want to go back very briefly actually to Forza Horizon 3. Did you guys see Gymkhana 9 by any chance by Ken Block?
Yes.
Yes, seen a bit of it, yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely
incredible. As usual, phenomenal car control. I mean, he is just a driving god, basically. This is the 9th one now as well. It's been going for some time. Not quite. It doesn't seem to have quite the same momentum as previous Gymkhanas. This time as well, it was also made in partnership with Forza Horizon 3, which is interesting because that's the third racing series I think he's partnered with now. Obviously, it was a big thing in the Dirt series. Then he moved on to Need for Speed. Now he's with Forza Horizon 3. So obviously using that as a big marketing tool at the moment.
Well, games that Ralph Fulton's been involved in as well, which is interesting there because of course Dirt 2, Ralph was the game designer behind that. So. You know, amazing skills from Ken. I mean, when it comes to the hoonigan type stuff, he is, you know, amazing at it. I think where Gymkhana's concerned, I think my journey with it was I loved Gymkhana at first, but then I found that it got more, as it got bigger, they were breaking it down, filming sections at a time. It wasn't one continuous run. And I like the first ones were one continuous video where he did all this in one go, amazing. Yeah. And then eventually it became more commercial, and it kind of lost for me the natural uniqueness of that one run of being able to string all this together. And it's not now. It's all done in parts and stuff like that. I think we saw some of that when it's in San Francisco. So I do enjoy it. I still enjoy the skills, but I think it lacks the original Gymkhana sort of just raw driving, just doing this for fun, setting it all up with a bunch of cameras and just doing this because we can. It's kind of become a bit more staged in that way now.
Yeah, so this added more and more gimmicks as well. Like he drifts around. What was it? There was one way he thinking around like this Hollywood set with like loads of pyrotechnics going on and stuff like that. Yeah, I remember a lot of people complained about that. So I think the one after that went a bit back to basics.
Yeah.
Set now. I think it was like Gymkhana 4, maybe something like that. And then the last few we've seen him go do it in sort of more and more exotic locations. We've had obviously San Francisco, one of my personal favorites actually, because I'm a big lover of sort of Hollywood films set there, like Bullet, etc. So I think they're really playing to that. We also had what else? We had Los Angeles, Dubai. Some stages was, in some respects, was a step backwards in that sense. It was just an industrial park in New York. So it kind of lacked the exotic location of the last few, but again, the driving skills cannot be faulted. I mean, I wince when he goes past the train, he sort of barely misses it,
Yeah, I can't believe they're up to number 9 already.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, I can't imagine how many views they must have altogether for those videos. They always have like millions of millions.
Oh yeah, I mean it's around the world brand and event now. It's an event, and I don't think this one's been promoted as heavily as previously ones. I mean, I didn't even realise it was coming up, whereas in the past I knew Gymkhana is coming. I think the world was watching. But no, you can't fault Ken's skills. I mean, Ken is. I've seen him do it in real life. I've seen him do it over and over and over again in real life, taking people out for rides and everything, for Dirt 2 and Dirt 3. And you know, the guy just loves his driving and he loves doing donuts and stuff. And so what you're seeing is what he can do time and time again, you know. And the stuff here, I think for me, the most impressive scenes were coming out of the building around the edge of the pier. You know, the back of the car was going off the end of the pier. You know, brilliant. You know, that level of knowing where the car needs to be is fantastic. So yeah, wonderful car.
There's a bit in San Francisco as well. I've always liked where he sort of goes up and jumps sideways and then somehow keeps it all together when he lands and carries on. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's worth noting actually that the Gymkhana 9 was actually supposed to be set in Australia originally, obviously to coincide with Forza Horizon 3, but they couldn't get any film permission. Australia were quite strict on that.
They are strict on everything, aren't they, Australia? Particularly sort of risque games and things like, you know. They seem to be one of those countries that it's tough to actually do anything with, you know. It's, it doesn't really surprise me.
It does kind of make the location seem fresh in that respect because it's not a location we see that often in games. Apart from Mad Max, I suppose you could almost say, but that's a bit different. That's not in the real world.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably do some news about now, actually.
News.
So I guess really one of the biggest topics again is still Assetto Corsa. They've actually now detailed some of the actual some of the changes we can expect to see from the patch later this month. They've confirmed that frame rate will be smoother and the screen tearing issues have been resolved. So that's good to see.
Yeah, amazing.
They've also detailed if. Yes, I go.
I was just going to say it's amazing because it says frame rate will be smoother, so we're not expecting perfection. But the fact that they've come out and said screen tearing issues have been resolved.
Gone, completely gone.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be the judge of that, but hopefully, even if it's 90%, it's going to be a lot better.
They sound confident. Let's just say.
Yeah. That's what really is surprising, just how bold and confident they are. So yeah, it's good.
There's lots of other interesting changes on our to select their starting position in the option screen.
Okay, that's interesting.
Good. They've also improved the sort of wheel functionality apparently, so you can now use the Thrustmaster shifter, for example. I know a lot of people have been complaining about that. You can also now set the visual steering a lot to any degree, which is quite interesting. You can tell they've really listened to community feedback, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, these features, I mean, they've implemented these very quickly, but it just...
I mean, the game's...
Yeah, it just makes you wonder why they didn't do it to start with. I mean, you know, they've got quality assurance testers and stuff, and like the things with the difficulty levels, I mean, they've put a very easy and a very hard difficulty level now. You know, that's something they could have put in before launch pretty easily. I don't understand why. The frame rate as well is another thing. Screen tearing.
Just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What was going on? But the one thing that's still not on that list is the automatic gears, which to me is the most important thing on that list. Yeah. You know, I can live with everything but automatic. I mean, the frame rate and tearing had to be resolved. I mean, that was really chronic, some of that tearing. And if they say they've improved it, but I hope it's not lost in translation that they've improved a bit of it, not all of it. But I'll be well impressed if they've improved all of it, because that was the major issue. Yeah. But I seem to feel they've unlocked it just like that. And again, like you say, where was the testing? Where were they getting advice from in terms of where the game is? I mean, it's very strange. I think I can actually say right now that when I played the game early this year, it never had the forward cam in the cockpit, only the back one.
The dash cam, yeah.
Dash cam, yeah. It never had the forward dash cam, and I actually said to them, look, I'm using a wheel. I don't want to see my hands on the wheel. Is there an option to remove the wheel? And they said no. I said, is there an option to have a closer camera so we don't need to see the wheel in shot, like in Sebastian Loeb Rally and Drive Club? Yeah. And they were like, okay, we might be able to put that in. And that was only put in there because I asked for it, which was a big help.
All right, so it's become the Allen cam.
Well, it's become the Allen cam, but it's also it's just one of the things that if I had the option of seeing the game beforehand, I could have told them half of this in the first place. But you know, it's like the compatibility with the shifter. That should have been, you know, that's a no-brainer. It's got to work with wheels and gear sticks. Just little things, isn't there? You know, the steering wheel movement and stuff like that. You know, did anyone test that at all? But for me, above all these things, is the gears. That automatic gears issue prevents people getting into the game at all and learning how to play it. And I think, you know,
I'm wondering now, maybe they have fixed it, but they just haven't mentioned it. Maybe they're a bit embarrassed, or could that be a possibility?
Well, I think the problem is they say this is a real car game for people who really want to drive cars. I get that, but not everyone is a real racing driver. So you've got to, everyone is a gamer and they want to pick up and play and learn. They need to be taught. So in that sense, if we went out with automatic gears first and there was a bit of a career progression in terms of the tutorial that kind of took some people through that, if they wanted to go through it, that would be good, because we want to train people in the world of sim racing. You know, if we want sim racing to be successful, we've got to get people into it. And I think that without that, that's an issue. But either way, it's a very positive patch. They are listening to their community, and I'm sure they've listened to what we've had to say as well. And I'm sure that the gears thing will come up and be resolved. But it is something important. And the AI strength, you know, rebalance. You know, a lot of people have been moaning about that. Kevin, you've been stuck there in some races, hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
You know, and that's you. You're a racer. I mean, I can tell you, you're probably in the top 1% of players who are going to own this game. So, you know, everyone else is really going to be struggling. So, yeah, it's pretty tough.
I think it's great that yeah, they're obviously listening to fan feedback, and they're being very active in terms of making these improvements. But I guess you just worry a bit: will it be too little, too late for some people? A lot of people might have already moved on to something else by now.
Yeah, especially with the upcoming Forza Horizon.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is for a lot of people, it's too little, too late. There's a lot of people who are going to buy it. They're going to try the automatic gears. They're going to say they're going to fall off the corner, say it's too hard, get rid of it for Forza Horizon. That's it. They've lost a customer. So they will have cost themselves quite heavily here. If they can rebalance the game and fix it all, they've got this, as I mentioned before, they've got the Porsche pack release in November time. If that pack is amazing, I think it will give them a new lease of life. But yeah, a lot of these issues seem to be relatively small, and like the replays. You know, the replays only going through half the game. They weren't like that earlier in the year. They were going through, when we played the early version, the replays were fine. So something has gone wrong from the build we played to the build that was released to the public.
I mean, regarding a sort of a relaunch, if you like, you know, to coincide with the Porsche pack, I think they've got to do a little bit more than that. I think they've got to give away some free cars as well.
Yeah.
Just to make it like a big event, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Cars, track, all for free. Get people involved. And I think I don't know if there's a demo available, but a demo would help them as well, getting it out there, especially when it's all fixed and working right. Yeah. And I think they could develop a community around it. But either way, as launches go, and bearing in mind that it doesn't have a lot of the complexity that you saw in Project Cars, I don't think they're going to suck people from Project Cars. And I think that a lot of the other people that they might have interested are going to be, sort of average gamers that may have found it quite difficult and may be moving on to Forza Horizon and other titles. So it's a competitive market, but in terms of sim racing, there is only them and Forza and Project Cars. So, they've got time, but they haven't got much time. They really do need to bring it together.
Yeah, so the patch comes out before the end of the month. So we're talking, 2 weeks maximum. So looking forward to seeing if they actually if they can actually fulfil what they're promising here with the list of changes. So we'll definitely be getting on the case there and doing some videos and just seeing if they've fixed all these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a shame it's colliding head on pretty much with Forza Horizon 3. That's That's the big studio, I think. Obviously, this is sim racing is a slightly different market in some respects, but a lot of people will move on to Forza Horizon 3, at least on Xbox One and PC.
Yeah.
But so elsewhere, we got next on. We got the release of Ride 2. Obviously, a lot of news on that lately. The full bike list has just come out. Interesting, we'll have around about over 200 bikes by the looks of it, if you include the DLC, of course. That's a fair big jump actually from the first game. The first game had around about 130 or so, something like that. So that's good to see.
Much like the first
one. Yeah.
Yeah, more styles of bikes. You know, much like the first ride, the majority of bikes are within the last sort of few years. So not so many sort of classic bikes, which is a bit of a shame. But then you can understand because, like you said before, Alan, when they get the license, you know, you might as well use as many sort of iterations of that bike, models of that bike as you possibly can, because the license is there. You know, why not go for it? So you're going to get a lot of sort of duplicates, if you like. You know, not quite on the levels of Gran Turismo, but you know, it is
quite
what it
noticeable
is.
in rides sometimes, I must admit.
Yeah.
They had like duplicates of near identical models, pretty much, and this the same seems to be happening in Ride 2. But
but we'd prefer to have them than not, I guess.
Yeah, if you're a massive bike enthusiast, I'm sure the differences will be noticeable to you. But
yeah,
at least they're expanding a little bit.
Exactly, as many brands as possible, as many different bikes as possible, and you know, some of these bikes may be quite different year in, year out in some cases as well. Yeah. So, and the dev team are huge bike fans. I'll point that out. So they know what bikes they want in there, and I think bike fans, some of the tracks, some of the bikes they've got, you know, it's a great package. You know, it just needs to play well. So that's going to be where the
playing to the audience in that sense.
That's right. But they've also improved the audio as well. I mean, there is audio improvements there, so they're making progress all round. And they've, of course, reduced loading times. I still don't think they're going to be world-beating loading times, but they are better than they were, better than the disaster they were before. I think that's the thing.
Oh my God, right.
That was, so long, wasn't it?
If I ever talk about a game that has a long loading time, I always refer it back to Ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Go and make a cup of tea, have a sandwich, come back, still loading. You know.
See, Ride cares about you. Ride gives you the chance to put the kettle on, to go to the toilet. You know.
Exactly. That's why they did it. You know, they were being thoughtful.
Exactly.
You need to take a break every hour.
Yeah, for an hour.
That's all it's.
So we recently had the Macau Street Circuit gameplay video released by Milestone. Gave us a good look at the circuit. Of course, one of the new additions to Ride 2. Over 30 tracks in the game in total with 60 different configurations. So, you know, a cracking track list. I mean, like I said before, we have the Nordschleife, the Ulster GP, the Northwest 200, we've got Macau. You know, we've got a fantastic selection of tracks. It really does seem like they're really making improvements in terms of sheer content. So you know, it seems like they made a really good step up from Ride. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do with the series in the future as well.
Watching that video though, I mean, I'm not liking the what's the helmet cam, the sort of first-person camera they've got going on there.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same as previous games, where it sort of just hovers above the bike, but it's not really reacting to the tilt of it, so you don't really get that same sense of speed or sense of danger. Which is weird because the original Rise had a helmet cam, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I take it as being something. It's quite accessible, isn't it? Because you're not getting the tilt of the screen, so you're not going to alienate a huge amount of players. Because a lot of players just can't get on when the screen's tilting at 45 degrees or so.
No, I think all the same having that option there though for other players that do want it, because
options are always nice to have, I guess.
I'm sure Rise had different options. You had your helmet cam, but you also had more accessible viewpoints. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed they haven't done that. It's almost like a step backwards again.
Yeah, the sense of speed is not fantastic either. No. From the
it's not, is it?
I was going to say bonnet cam, but it's a bike, isn't it? I'm not sure what's the equivalent, but you do get a good sense of speed from the so-called bonnet cam perspective. You know, you're much lower to the ground, of course, so you would expect that. But I
don't know. It could do some more blurring effects and stuff like that, though.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Set the bar, I think, for that. That's the problem.
Yeah, because it runs at 30 FPS.
I can't help but compare it.
Yeah, perhaps it does need.
It's down to. It's actually some of it's down to the type of perspective lens effects they use, and with tweaking, they can make something seem a lot faster. And then, so if you tweak it, you add some visual elements, a little bit of shaking maybe, it can give you a feeling of being there. It's all about the whole audio and visual list of things that happen when you're going faster. And I think Drive Club gets it right. And I think I think really what these guys needed to do was look at Drive Club bikes, look at how they generate the feeling of speed, the problem with Macau is that you see the bike's very smooth. You don't feel in danger, frankly, and
No.
it's just very smooth and calm and clinical. And I noticed that the bike's very wide at some of the apexes, and it's missing the apexes entirely for some of these corners as well. I mean, it's not on the apex at all. I mean, the rider's got to get as close to those apexes as possible. That's the way it works, and they're just not on some of these. And it's just, I don't know what that says about the handling model or anything like that, but it's good through the twisty section, better through there. But it's
because in ride the bikes are very slow to turn in, weren't they? And they seem to have gone in that direction again.
Yeah. I mean, they're better in ride than they are in MotoGP. Blimey, MotoGP, I could barely get bikes to turn into corners. I mean, that game, I really struggled. I didn't find it intuitive. The bike wasn't doing what I was expecting it to do, wanted it to do anything. Also, I think when you're seeing a game like Ride Running, you've got to remember what handling model. Are they using sort of the amateur, the semi-pro, or the pro handling model? That makes great differences in terms of how quick the biker leans and how they lean. And it looks to me like they're using this assisted steering option here rather than the more professional option. But yeah, apexes wise, there won't be any awards for apexes. A lot of them getting missed, going really wide around some of those corners. Yeah.
Saying content-wise, it can be faulted.
Content is incredible.
There will be a season pass. Yeah, content is, as with most milestone games, very
really
exhausted.
Good content. I mean, the content can't be faulted. It's the it's the finish on the content in terms of the look of the circuits, how good they actually look when you're playing. Some of them, feel like they're not as weathered. They feel a bit lifeless. Not as weathered as they should be. Every
milestone game we've seen this year seems to have that same problem.
Yeah,
Fashion Load, for example, lots of content. One of probably the, in terms of rally games, definitely the most packed game out there, but just to lack that sort of level of polish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all going in the right direction, isn't it?
It's definitely getting there.
Yeah, so I mean, as long as we see an improvement, that's a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it looks like they are keen as well to support the game after release, because there's going to be a lot of free DLC this time, which is good to see. I think Milestone aren't always the best when it comes to supporting games after release.
No, putting it mildly, I would say.
To put it politely. In terms of post-release content and even just patch fixes, really. But,
so like I said, it's all going in the right direction, isn't it? So they're listening.
It's good to see that.
Yeah, they're making improvements regarding their sort of communication with fans and interaction and post-release support. So it's slow progress, but at least it's progress. And so I'm looking forward to how the titles evolve in the future. So
there's a season pass as well, which hopefully this time will actually have something in it.
Yeah, actually make it worth it. Maybe a bit better than saving £1 or £2. Yeah, so interesting to see.
Well, there we go. So also out on the same day, for reasons beyond our comprehension, is WRC 6. Obviously, recently we've seen the new special stages in action. Again, like Ride 2, there's in terms of content, it's looking like a very complete package. The special stages certainly has a new sort of dimension to it.
I mean, watching the trailer, I was surprised just how dark some of the sequences were. I don't know if you guys have checked out the trailer, but it does get so dark under the trees and areas like that. It's a strange choice.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I noticed that when I was playing it. I noticed that some of the shadows I couldn't see very well, and it reminded me of almost like Argentina in WRC 4, I think it was, WRC 3 or 4, I think it was. I was going into shadows and couldn't see where I was going properly, and it's kind of a very similar situation to that. It's very dark at times, and you've got no
there's
headlights.
Lots of detail as well because of that.
So, we yet to see the final game. When I saw it, it was still a work in progress, but I can say that some rallies definitely look better than others. But then again, they were all still being worked on. So, but there were lots of new spot effects and lighting effects and everything else. But overall, everything's had more detail. But I would have liked to have seen more people, though, more crowds. There's still not really enough people, and I think that's still something.
It should be quite static as well.
Yeah, there's not enough people. It's quite static. You know, I go to a rally and there's massive crowds everywhere, and there's marshals every 400 meters blowing a whistle, and there's, you know, lots more in terms of TV, medical vans, and everything else. I mean, there's a lot of activity at a rally. When you come to a corner, there's like 1,000 people on a corner. You'll never see that in the game. So
yeah, I
think
that rally kind of did that, but
a bit.
Yeah. They do sort of cheer you on in areas, but not a big crowd.
Give it a good sort of sense of atmosphere and place, at least. Actually, while on the subject of crowds, Milestone are actually improving in that area. Some of the last few games had stacks of crowds, and they're all 3D animated as well this time.
Yeah, true.
MXGP2 had really good crowds.
It does. It does have surprisingly good crowds, actually. Yeah, I mean, MotoGP last year, for example, was just like static 2D cutouts, a bit like what you'd see on a PS2 game. So at least they have listened in that respect. But again, with Carlo Tom there, it's worth noting that obviously this is only the second WRC game, so there is still it's still a lot of scope for development, I think, on that. And obviously it's a yearly turnaround as well. So I think we'll start to see more improvements like that in the next WRC game, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the trailer again. I mean, the nighttime stages do look improved. One complaint I had of WRC5 was the textures on the nighttime stages. They just seemed very, very low res. I mean, they're still a little bit on the low res side, but they've certainly made improvements there, so that's really good to see. And there's just some pyrotechnics going off on the super special stages as well. So they're trying to add a little bit more spectacle to the event, so it's good to see. But again, just like Ride, it's slow, isn't it? Improvements here and there. But again, you know, it's only 1 year development time. Yeah, but we'll get there in the end. So be patient.
Yeah, that's it. So I guess just to round off then, in terms of new releases this week, we have NASCAR Heat Evolution.
Yay!
And it's not available in the UK, so why are we even talking about it?
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, you know, it's got its fan.
Saying that, I found out this morning it is actually available on Steam in the UK. I did not realise this. But
that's true, yeah. I read that this morning actually as well. Yeah, so it was quite surprising. So yeah. So if in the UK and you want it, it is available on PC, but consoles you're gonna have to import it with something. Yeah.
And hope that it works.
Yeah,
I'm not if it's region free.
Yeah, most PS4 games tend to be, but sometimes you get the odd few that aren't. But what can we say about it? Really, it's another NASCAR game.
Yeah, I mean, much like Ride 2, they're gonna have some good post-release support with free and paid DLC as well. So. Yeah. That's a good thing about it.
The AI sounds quite promising.
Yeah, adaptive AI. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that works out. I mean, it doesn't always go to plan when you've got adaptive AI in games. So, you know, you don't know quite what you're going to get with those sort of things. But you know, they've got a range of difficulty modes as well, and they've got they've seemed to have plenty of options as well. It seems to cater for the full spectrum of the veteran and the sort of noobs as well. So yeah.
Obviously, as a new developer as well, the license was held with Nutanix for quite a long time, and EA, and back then they did at least release them in the UK. I seem to remember back in the days of EA, if I remember. NASCAR was 09 or something like that. I remember playing the demo.
Well, no, I mean, they're releasing them recently, even with the Nutanix developed games they're released here. But you know, like you say, quality sometimes hasn't been the greatest. And so the games haven't necessarily sold as well. I think the big problem is with NASCAR is you've got 40 cars in a race. It's really hard for current systems to do that. So you know, I think as technology gets more powerful, NASCAR could improve. But if you want a NASCAR simulator, obviously nothing beats iRacing, really. I mean, that's the ultimate, and the PC's kind of always had a dominance there.
That's true. We also we were talking about MXGP2 earlier. There's actually a new sort of cut down version of that out. I don't know if you guys saw that on the PlayStation Store.
They tend to do this.
They do this every time. Yeah, the compact edition, as they call it. They've done it with MotoGP. I'm not sure they've done it with WRC, but they did it with literally every single MotoGP they've released. They've done this new sort of compact edition, which is basically the same game but stripped of its career and less bike classes.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a lot cheaper.
What to think about that. You know, it's a bit strange strategy.
Yeah. I mean, according to this, you get the Grand Prix mode, you get the Championship mode, and you only get MXGP riders, so you don't get the MX1 stuff.
What you do, right,
yeah,
an example is you take a flannel and then you put it in water, and when you pull the flannel out, it drips a bit, but then you squeeze it and you wring it a bit more, and then it becomes dry. And when it's dry, well, nobody wants something that's dry, so that gets rid of, and then we get next year's game.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
You know what? That's a video. I'm going to make the video of that on the channel.
Okay. We look forward to that.
There we go.
There's going to be a sequel to there's going to be a sequel to the PS4 Pro Odyssey, maybe.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They should call it the flannel edition.
Absolutely.
I should have called it MXGP2 Flannel Edition. There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Flannel Edition. Oh, I tell you, you guys, you know what? That's what's going to happen. That's a video. And yeah, what should I? You know what? We should come up with that. I'll come up with a strategy for that. That's coming. That video's coming.
Yeah, just put the file with like the MXGP2 logo on it or something, just rinsing away.
Absolutely. And that's coming to the channel near you.
All being said, though, I was quite disappointed with MXGP2. We got the review recently on the website, and I really thought it was a bit of a backward step from the first one in some respects. Like the terrain deformation was, it was barely there, I swear.
Yeah, it was a disappointment because they was sort of promoting that quite a bit, so I was expecting a little bit better.
On the back of the box, it says new terrain deformation physics. There's nothing there. Like they leave these sort of really light tire trails in the ground, but there's no actual deformation of the terrain.
Yeah, so MXGP1
anyway
did it better, didn't it?
Much better. It was really noticeable and actually quite groundbreaking for the time. No pun intended.
Yeah.
In terms of milestones games, but and again with the first person view, that was changed quite a bit. They got rid of the shaky cam effect and they sort of made it as if it's sort of floating above the bike, which, as we said earlier, really takes away from the sense that you're actually there. So that was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, when you see an onboard of a dirt bike, you see the shaky cam, So I suppose it's a question of, are you viewing it through the eyes of the driver, or are you viewing it from a camera perspective?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because
it's especially annoying though, because in the replays there were actually some sort of GoPro style cams that were sort of on the helmet.
Yeah.
In the replays, but not in the game.
I mean, I'd like to have seen an option there. So if you didn't want the shaky cam, maybe you could just turn an option off. But it'd be nice to have that there. Just it gives it a little bit more spectacle, a little bit more fear, danger, a little bit more excitement. Yeah, it was just too smooth, wasn't it, MXGP2?
Way too smooth, especially for a motocross game where the tracks are not exactly even surfaces, are they? It's all about going over the bumps and the jumps and that kind of thing. You just do not get a sense of that with that camera.
No.
There's even other things as well, like even the career mode felt a bit sort of downgraded because I know it's becoming a bit of a cliche now, but obviously in the first game it was set in this sort of interactive office environment where you look at your calendar and you select your emails, that kind of thing. And in XGP2 it was all done purely through just normal text menus, which wasn't quite as immersive.
Yeah, it seemed like a number of compromises were made. I wonder if that's down to the sheer number of titles that have been releasing lately. But
it's possible, but when you consider that MXGP was released on all the other consoles as well, whereas this one was a current gen only title, there's not many excuses. I think it just shows how thin they are spreading themselves at the moment, perhaps.
Yeah, I imagine we have to wait till the third game in the series to actually get a true current gen sort of version of it. Yeah, it's a shame.
Exactly. I mean, the staging tracks were okay, but there's 4 tracks.
Yeah, and it didn't really add much to the game, really, did they? It was just sort of bolted on there and.
It could have easily been released as DLC, frankly.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there you go. I mean, apart from that, it was enjoyable. I like the riding physics.
Yeah.
It just lacked that intensity and excitement you'd expect to see in a motocross game.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Compared to some of the old MX games, especially.
Yeah, lacking the speed, wasn't it, as well?
I think for me it just lacked some fluidity. I just didn't feel that your bike was as fluid. It felt a bit more stiff. I don't think the frame rate helps, but with the ground not being as deformable, it just lacked a fluidity and a connection to the environment. It made it feel quite dated. So I think in terms of its transition from PS3 to PS4, I don't think we've seen a great deal of improvement in some respects.
It's a backward step, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it is almost backwards. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so there we are. I think just to round off, we have one other release coming out this week, actually, which you probably weren't aware of. Grand Prix Rock and Racing is actually coming out to the Wii U this week. Hooray!
Great.
I sound enthusiastic, like the annoying announcer that's in the game, constantly cheering you on.
This is super great, excellent. This race is on
fire. Well done, amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
What can I say about that? I mean, it's one of those games that a lot of people probably just will get fed up of it. But if you do stick with it, you know, you can upgrade your cars and stuff, and you can get some enjoyment out of it. But you really have to dig deep, and you have to invest, you know, a lot of time and patience.
You've got to kind of scrape the barrel really to get any enjoyment out of it. From what
you really do have to dig deep. And unfortunately, I did dig deep. You know, I actually I even managed to win the championship in the first season. Not my very first season that I did, but within a first season of a future season that I did, which is pretty tough. But so in some respects, it does offer you know, a fantastic challenge. But the problem is, once you've got a fully upgraded car, and once you've mastered the handling, it goes from being a very hard game initially to something that's pretty easy. So, but it is satisfying getting the car upgrades and that. So that was enough to keep me sort of persevering through the career mode. But like I say, it's one of those games that you know, a lot of people are going to get frustrated with. Well, I was frustrated myself, but you have to sort of get through the frustrations to get the fun out of the game, and I can't imagine too many people actually doing that.
This is the problem in terms of just first impressions. Probably one of the worst games I've played in a while. Just first impressions, because your car is just so slow. It just takes forever to get off the line. The handling is appalling. All the air races just bash into each other. I thought, what is this? But, like I said, if you persevere, it does seem to get better. But
it's set up. It's giving you the presentation is telling you that it's an arcade sort of racer, but it's not, because you've got this sort of, you know, realistic handling model, and you got, you know, the focus is very much on upgrading the car. So people seeing the games, you know, hearing the commentator, seeing the visual approach, you know, when you load the game up, it shouts the game's name. Even you think it's going to be an arcade racer, and when you find out it's not, it's, you know, you're going to get a massive disconnect. And I don't think many people will be able to sort of get over that and treat it as a more sort of complex game.
It doesn't strike me as a game that's that fun to play. That's the problem. That's the core issue, I think.
Yeah, initially that is true. Yeah, absolutely.
Initially.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what it's like on Wii U though, because I imagine it's almost better suited to that console in a way, because like, playing it on the handheld sort of gamepad, I can imagine would work quite well for an arcade racer like that.
Yeah, it's
the graphics aren't the best in the world on a big 1080p television.
No, that's right. It's very basic graphically, but you know, you could argue that's some of its charm. But yeah, it's a frustrating title, I would say.
Yeah, it's strange because I remember the first game, was it Rock and Racing Off Road or something, originated on the Wii U, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
They've gone the other way on this one, so I think
just had
might be better suited.
Well, here's a bit of news again, hot off the press. Just had an email here. Mantis Burn Racing, will run at, I like the headline, PlayStation 4 Pro to take Mantis Burn Racing to the next level with full native 4K support. So Mantis Burn will run at 4K 60 frames per second. Well, there you go. That's the next level gaming.
That's the system seller right there.
Oh, right there. I'm so pleased. That game runs at 60 frames per second 4K.
Nice.
Brilliant. Well done to them as a developer, you know, but, you know, as I say, it's just, you know, there's nothing selling it to me yet, is it? I want Drive Club. You know.
It's made me want to buy a PS Pro now.
Yeah. You know what? Whatever. We won't go down that road again. Yeah, so there you go. Hot news of the press. But other than that, no, I think that's about it now, Martin, for this week. So it's kind of a middle week, isn't it? It's been lots happening always. Always lots of racing stuff to talk about.
Yep.
And I've, so obviously the quirky video last week, I might do another one, who knows. And I'm going to be doing some more retro content on the site as well, and on on the on the video content side, and also I've got a readout review coming as well, which will be a review of the PC version. So that should be up within the next week or so for viewers. So keep an eye out for that.
Excellent stuff. Anyone got anything else to add?
No, I think that's it.
No? Okay, well, thanks as always for listening. And if there's anything you ever wanted to talk about racing game-wise, obviously do let us know for future podcasts. Other than that, we'll see you again next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.